Our next panel is going to be Know Your Bean Market. Facilitator is Jill Sweeney, North Central Bean Dealers Association. So Jill, if you'd come to the stage and assemble your panel. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Jill Sweeney. I'm the director of the North Central Bean Dealers Association. And so we have a panel here today of a couple bean dealers from across our region, and we're going to talk about the markets. So we'll first go through introductions. We'll start right to my right here is Charles Wachsmuth from Chippewa Valley Bean Company. Would you please give a brief description about your business and where you're located?
Thank you. I'd love to. As she said, my name's Charles Wachsmuth. I'm the vice president of Chippewa Valley Bean. Chippewa Valley Bean is the largest processor and exporter of kidney beans in the world. And we're based on the far eastern edge of the growing area in Dunn County or Menominee, Wisconsin. So it's great to see a lot of our growers' smiling faces here today. Thank you.
All right, next to him is Dylan Karley. He's from Johnstown Bean Company. Same for you, Dylan. Please provide a brief description and where you're located.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Dylan Karley, and I'm with Johnstown Bean Company and North Central Commodities, based out of Johnstown, North Dakota, just up northwest of Grand Forks. Primarily handle pinto beans and black beans.
All right, and then last but not least, we have John Berthold. He's from Green Valley Bean Company. Where are you located, and tell us a little bit about your company.
Thanks, Jill. Green Valley Bean is a kidney bean processor located in Park Rapids, Minnesota, about an hour and a half straight east of here. That's really about it. Nothing more than that.
All right. What class of beans, if you guys didn't already mention, do you handle, and what was the crop like in 2022? Do you want to start, Charles?
Sure. So as mentioned, we are in kidney beans, dark, light, and white kidney beans. Crop was down last year, which was to be expected as we faced challenges with higher commodity prices, especially corn and soy. Not as many people wanted to grow kidney beans. It was tough to get our grower base to spring into action. So for us, we went back to these long-term connections and partnerships we had and said, hey, let's get rotations back in order. Let's get your ground healthy, and we're going to come back to kidney beans when the price is a little better for y'all.
Dylan, how about you?
Yeah, I primarily handle pinto beans and black beans, and as most in the room know, the crop was quite phenomenal this year across most of the areas. There were some exceptions, but we had a very late start to the year, and around the 4th of July, the crop, frankly, looked really poor. And then we had maybe the best growing season we've ever had from the 4th of July out, and it led to some really overall good yields. It wasn't, record-breaking or anything like that, but it was a good crop.
I think the last 2 years around Park Rapids have been probably two of the better crops we've ever had. What we've seen last year in particular, good quality and some of the best yields we've ever seen. So it's been a good couple of years.
All right. So how about entering 2023? What's the marketability of your beans? Do you have a crystal ball that says it says about the pricing and supply and demand? And John, do you want to start?
Thanks. Thanks for that one. I've always said if I had a crystal ball, I'd give it away in an hour. I wouldn't need it after that. But the kidney bean, like I said, we've had two good years in a row. I wouldn't call it burdensome supply, but it's certainly a good supply. Couple that with some logistical issues, currency issues, and I think it's just a general slowdown overall. It's a challenging marketing year. At least that's what we're seeing.
All right, Dylan, how about you?
Yeah, so for on the pinto bean and black bean side, we did have a very large supply in the U.S. this year because of the good yields in North Dakota, along with Michigan having some pretty good yields out there on the black beans. But We've had good demand on the export market that has helped to support the prices. Usually when we have a crop this size, the price kind of continues to tumble until it hits a floor. This year, Mexico really stepped into the market and started purchasing up decent quantities, especially on slow darkening pintos and on black beans too. So it really leveled everything off. Going into this next year, we're going to see definite challenges with competing crop prices, soybeans, everything like that, and we'll probably shed a few acres on pintos in North Dakota, which actually might lead to a more positive outlook coming back into this next crop year.
I'm not sure what else I need to say after that. One thing I would add is, at least for the kidney beans, or especially for the kidney beans, is we're feeling the effects of growing regions expanding in places like Argentina. The steel and aluminum tariffs back in 1819 allowed Argentina to come in and start eating some of our lunch. And so as we look at the size of the crop and where we can price in the United States, that's going to be a definite concern as we move forward.
All right, and kind of working off of that, what are the biggest factors that affect the ability of your operation to maintain success? Go ahead.
Right now, honestly, I'd say it is equipment. Not farming equipment, but shipping equipment. In the upper Midwest, we've seen a shortage of containers. We've seen a shortage of rail cars. We have not been able to get product to the ports as quickly as we would like. That, and again, as I just spoke of, the increased competition from countries like Argentina into our traditional export markets. I will say there's exciting news on the shipping side. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but we found out for the first time in forever that they are repositioning 100 containers from Chicago to Minneapolis. And that is not the solution to our problem, but I'm excited because it at least is a small relief on that pressure valve. So I'll go back, short answer, logistics, Argentina. Thank you.
For us on the pinto bean and black bean side, we haven't faced quite the logistical problems. Not as many of them go on the ocean. We have rail connections into Mexico, and the railroad has gotten to be about 20 to 25% more expensive due to higher fuel costs, fuel surcharges, things like that. But we haven't battled near the transportation and logistics issue. That's pretty much been a very big advantage to us, so we just don't kind of have this glut in the system from lack of being able to move product. So I think we're sitting in a pretty good spot.
I agree with both of those. Certainly the logistics is a huge challenge going forward, but to add on to that, currency exchange comes into a factor, and then interest rates. We've all seen interest rates ramp up. The carrying cost just of these crops and carrying this inventory is almost triple of what it is. It hasn't doubled, it's tripled. So you don't want to have the inventory, we don't want to carry the inventory, and neither does the buyer in the end. So it becomes, it tightens up your supply chain through that. So that's going to be a continued headwind that we're going to have to deal with.
All right. The North Harvest region successfully manages 65% of the U.S. dry bean production. How do you guys feel that the volume of the beans play on the world market and influence your domestic markets as well? John, do you want to start?
I was hoping the other guys would go first on that one. It's a tough
Just
question.
say ditto.
But it's, I mean, certainly just being in this region with 65%, every buyer in the world comes here. They know we're here. So it's not like being in a niche market with a small acreage. The world can come here, and I think that's it. And the domestic market enjoys a steady supply, a steady, adequate supply from a bean dealer here, year in and year out.
I'd say on my side, North Dakota definitely has a huge influence. North Dakota, Minnesota, all of North Harvest, because of the volume we have here on the pinto beans and black beans. A real big game changer that brought a ton of value to our area was the slow darkening pinto development that happened. You know, Juan's been working on it for years, really excited about this new one coming out. That has really improved our marketability into Mexico, into Dominican Republic, any of the warm climate areas. over into Africa. When the beans go to that warm climate, but they can still stay bright, they can store them, it's been a huge advantage. So bringing that into our area where we control 65% of all the edible beans in the United States has been great. And then on the black bean side too, a lot of those breeding programs back in the 1980s, 1990s, we didn't have maybe quite as an attractive a black bean, or it wasn't marketed as such compared to Michigan. The varieties that have come along in the 2000s, 2010s, and now the ones now have really put us on par with anyone out there, and we're competitive everywhere on the same playing field. And then on the processing side, we're seen as the highest quality, cleanest processing country in the world. So that's really helped in the world market too. We're always seen as premium products coming out of the US.
Yeah, again, I would agree with everything said. One thing to think about, though, with kidney beans is the Mindac region, or the upper tier of the Midwest. We are the largest growing region of kidney beans in the world. There's no country that compares to what you guys are doing up here. And so that does allow us more play in the market. And as was mentioned before, the traceability aspect, the safety of our product. You know, basically all our processors now have third-party audits to be done. When the world buys a kidney bean from our region, they know it's safe. They know what they can depend on, and they know the quality they're getting. So yeah, that would be what I would say.
Wonderful. All right, what are some of the most exciting opportunities you see in the dry bean business? Dylan, why don't you start?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I mean, you look at some of the discussions that we had earlier, the stuff that Chelsea was saying, increasing consumption, utilizing beans in different ways. Some of the research that they were talking about on the panel earlier of different bean flours, bean ingredients, are really, really exciting opportunities. And then on the world market, we're seeing somewhat of a shift in the way people are eating. A lot more plant proteins. It's starting to be a very big thing in Europe, a very big thing in Asia, and maybe a lot of the populations that don't historically eat a lot of beans, maybe we'll start to ramp up some consumption as they see the healthy plant protein movement. So I see that as a really big opportunity.
John, how about you?
My turn, yeah. I think in along those terms of, you know, talks of sustainability and the plant-based diet, that bodes well for the U.S., I think, because you as producers are able to provide that documentation and some of that link that's going forward. We can do it here a lot easier, I think, than a lot of other places in the world. So it's an opportunity that I think that's available for us going forward.
I don't know what I can add to that, to be honest. John took the words right out of my mouth. When we talk about sustainability, there are so many places that we can talk about. We can talk about the traceability and the record keeping that's done. We can talk about multi-generational family farms and keeping that soil and that farm moving and what health it's at. We can talk about, I hate to say this, the United States is a leg up on how in our ethics and how we treat our workers, how we treat each other, how we treat our communities. Because as what we're seeing from Europe is they are, I would say on average, 3 to 5 years ahead of us on any major concerns. And so there's going to be more emphasis put on ethical supply chain audits. There's going to be things put on carbon, and we as an industry need to be ready for this. We need to be prepared because they're going to ask us for it first. And one thing I would say about that, and I'm a little off topic here, I apologize, is these things that we're doing, they don't actually help us get an extra dime or an extra penny for our product. But what they do is they make us the supplier of first choice, so that when they say we need a bean that has this, and this paperwork to back it up, they come to us first because they know we can do it. So.
Perfect. All right, kind of going off of that as well, what do you guys see as future trends in the bean business? Do you want to continue?
I would just continue with what I'm saying. You know, we're seeing from international markets, we maybe not be able to use the same crop protection projects or inputs that we used 5 or 10 years ago. We're going to see a need for better equipment, because quite honestly, quality standards are not going to go down. We as processors, you guys as growers, need to really look at that, because we can't sit on our laurels and say we're the best in the world. We got to continue to prove we're the best in the world, and I think we can do it. Carbon, traceability, sustainability, these are just words to a lot of us right now. They don't mean so much, but they're going to continue to be defined, and we need to step up and help decide what those definitions are so they best suit, and we can work with them, and we can continue to grow our markets.
I think one of the biggest trends that we're going to face around our region is going to be the competition for acres, as there's a lot of buzz about different soybean facilities going in and different things like that, and the current grain pricing structures, and it isn't the same old edible beans, and the acreage is always going to go in the ground. We're fighting with a lot higher input costs and a lot different economic situation right now. So the trend of perhaps the acres start to go back a little bit until the pricing catches up to drive those acres into the ground. So I think longer term, we're just going to see hopefully some higher pricing that continues to entice our region to producing the large amount of acres that we normally do, or else the market will kind of dictate that.
I may have forgotten the question already, but
Future trends, what are you seeing in the bean
No.
business?
I think along the same lines, there's a segment of the market, not everybody in the world, but they want to know where their food came from, right? And so I would expect to see us as dealers asking you as growers, provide us some of this information. What did you spray? When did you spray it? How did you do it? And it may sound like a burden, but I think I would look at it as an opportunity, and I would embrace it if I were you. Because if they want it, let's sell it to them, right? And they'll pay for it. So rather than going out there and trying to do the cheapest thing you can do and do it in a bigger volume, let's try to, I think that's an opportunity going forward.
All right. And then for the farmers in the audience today, why should they consider doing business with you? John, do you want to start?
You know, given the supply that we have on hand right now, we're really not looking to expand at the moment. Maybe check with me in a year or two, but we're good now. We're doing fine.
I guess for me, myself and my family, we are bean growers, and I try and look at the information to be as transparent as possible. We do great on volumes. I'm not always looking for that, but if anybody ever wants to just discuss markets, feel free to reach out. We're directly tied into a lot of the export markets. Mexico is kind of my specialty there. And whether I do business with you or not, anybody that's ever looking for clear information coming from the farmer side, just give me a call.
Man, how do you answer this question without throwing shade on anybody else? I will say Chippewa Valley Bean has a long history. My family started growing kidney beans in 1969. At this stage, I'm third generation. I'm dealing with partners that we established 3 generations ago. I'm working with farmers whose grandfathers dealt with my grandfather. We're 50 years in, and we plan on being here for at least another 50. And we're known for providing quality, service, and respect, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thank you.
All right, that's all I've got. Do you guys want to answer any questions from the audience? Does anybody have any questions for our guys up here? We have a couple minutes left. Oh, right back there.
How much is your domestic market versus foreign, where the dollar exchange really affects that foreign market when the dollar is too strong?
We've been really seeing some impact on this. Chippewa Valley Bean exports about 70% of what we do to around 30 countries around the world on an annual basis. And we've seen buyers in Europe not complaining, but really struggling with the strong US dollar. We've seen it really in every one of our markets, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge as we go through. You know, I always hate to say it, but a weak dollar is better for the bean business, or at least on our side.
So oddly, on the contrary, the US dollar has been very, very strong in the world, but the Mexican peso has actually been outpacing it. So we're actually doing better into Mexico right now, and we have one of the most advantageous exporting exchange rates than we've had since the mid-2000s. It's kind of an odd situation, and you can't find many people that can readily explain it in Mexico either, but it's actually worked out to our advantage and given us a little bit better markets than normal this year, oddly.
Anybody else?
Let's give a hand to our panel. Thank you for doing it.